How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. We have a busy week to talk about here on the show. Very busy weekend, in fact. Obviously, Friday night, as this show was going on the air, Friday afternoon, it was the WWE Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. And we were kind of watching the show, and obviously no sound. We could not hear the crowd. We could only kind of see what was going on as we did the show. Looked like kind of a disaster of a show. Then later that night I watched it. Show was a disaster. Absolutely sucked. We could talk about the fallout of WWE Super Showdown here today. For the fourth time, they lied to you about Brock Lesnar cashing in. We had an Undertaker-Goldberg match that fell apart after Goldberg got a concussion. Just an absolute mess of a match. A horrendous 51-man battle royal. They actually gave you more than they advertised. 51 men in there. Won by Mansoor, which actually at least got the crowd happy. I gotta give them that. 25-minute Randy Orton Triple H match. Infuriatingly long match. Lars Sullivan and the Lucha House Party was a disaster. They're rematching on Monday. Shane McMahon beat Roman Reigns in a match that he dominated 90% of. 90% might be a low number. Probably dominated about 95% of that match. I mean, I can't make any of this up. That was WWE Super Showdown. We could talk about that. Last night, the exact opposite. The IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship changed hands. It was the New Japan Dominion show. We could talk to Mike about that. A lot of news coming out of the show, including the return of Kenta. I shouldn't say the return. Kenta has debuted for New Japan, and he will be entering the G1 Climax, as will Shingo Takagi and Jon Moxley in the G1 this year, as we'd expected. Update on Goldberg, last night's UFC. There's so much news. If you want to join us here today, you're welcome to. Phone number 844-411-5411. Text messages 425-780-7566. And we will kick it off after this break. Wrestling Observer Live. Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. We'll have Mike Sempervive on here in a moment. Well, I'll start with a few text messages here, then we'll get into all the news and everything. This person here says, the subject line, by the way, in this email is cancerous Saudi shows. Watching Goldberg versus Undertaker made me angry and sad at the same time. At both the guys and Vince McMahon for making the match happen. These Saudi shows are turning out to be some of the worst in the history of the company. And there's also this one here. I guess this is a quote from me, of all people. Goldberg now must never come back. This run was perfect. He got to do this for his son, and it was awesome. That was the Bryan and Vinny show after watching the Goldberg 24 special after his run in 2017. Truer words, this person says, have never been spoken, proven after the Saudi show. Well, I want to, as bad as that show was, and don't get me wrong, there's very little I actually want to defend on that show, but as bad as the show was, I would like to a degree, defend The Undertaker and Goldberg. The match went 9 minutes and 35 seconds, and I don't know what the original idea for this match was, but I do know that there were changes made on the day of the show. What they were, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in a couple of days. But anyway, they go in there, and for the first few minutes, honest to God, everybody, honest to God, it wasn't bad. And in fact, there was a spot at one point where The Undertaker hit the ropes, and that dude hit the ropes. Like, he hit the ropes so hard that you heard the turnbuckle clang into the post. He hit the ropes like the old days. I'm not saying it was the old Undertaker. The dude probably still shouldn't be wrestling. He's very broken down. But this match did not fall apart until Goldberg ran with a head of steam. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if maybe the ropes were loose, and so there was a lot of give in the corner, or if he just misjudged. I mean, it wasn't the first time he's done this. But he went to do a spear into the corner, and he missed, and he hit the corner, and his head hit the post, and he gave himself a concussion, he knocked himself out, and he busted himself open. And at that point, this match totally fell apart. And Goldberg, once the match fell apart, I mean, you could criticize the fact that they let the match continue, which you should, because once a dude gets a concussion, like, you should just go home. But Goldberg didn't want to go home. I'm sure The Undertaker didn't want to go home. And I'm sure that referee was desperately intimidated. I'm not defending this. I'm just telling you it probably happened, okay? So once this thing fell apart and you got a concussed Goldberg, I mean, it's only going to get worse. And Goldberg is concussed, and he can't do anything, and they just keep going, and then he's got to give The Undertaker a jackhammer, but he's all messed up, and so whosever fault it was, and it may have been a little of both, I mean, it was 100 degrees, God only knows how Undertaker was feeling 8 minutes into the match. Goldberg drops the dude right on his head. Now Undertaker's out of it, and they ended up going to the finish. So my point of all of this is, yes, I'm not going to tell you the match was not horrible. I mean, it was horrible. And Undertaker would tell you that, Goldberg would tell you that, everybody watching it would tell you it was horrible. But in fairness, if Goldberg had not bashed his head into that post, I mean, there's a good possibility that they would have gone like 7 minutes, and it would have been better shorter, but it would have been totally fine as a main event. I can't say, oh my God, these guys, you know, they were just terrible. They're maybe they are too old to do this, but Goldberg's last run, he was totally fine, and The Undertaker looked okay, and I think they could have pulled out a good 7-minute match if one guy hadn't gotten killed. That's my thoughts on that whole thing right there. So, anyway, we're going to figure out the situation with Sempervive. He's having a difficult time connecting, but I'll try to figure out what's going on, and we will do that after the commercial break. But in the meantime, let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
I'm going to say I enjoyed the Goldberg-Undertaker match because I think Goldberg showed a lot of heart. He sure beat that match that Nick Bockwinkel had WCW with Roy Funk Jr. at Slamboree. So I don't see anything wrong because even Goldberg pulled out a brainbuster, and people always complain about the Undertaker not doing the tombstone. You know, too close. They said, you know, he just too far from the ground, but he did too close this time, and he didn't kill him.
He didn't do too close to the ground. What happened was Goldberg was concussed, and so Goldberg didn't tuck his head. Instead, he looked at the mat, and so when The Undertaker landed on his knees and went to go forward, the guy didn't have his head tucked in, and so when he went forward, the guy landed on his head. It was a perfect storm of disasters, what it was.
And I thought the Best of Junior match was a little bit overrated, that Dave Meltzer gave 5 and 7.5 stars to, because, for one thing, the announcers were screwing up, like, the calling the moves, like they were getting Liger bombs mixed up with Tiger bombs, and they only gave like half a trophy because they.
When was there a Tiger bomb during that match? I don't remember a Tiger bomb. I remember the Liger bomb.
Well, it looked like a Tiger bomb to me.
Maybe you messed it up, Ryan. You ever thought about that?
Well, it looked like the Ahmad Johnson finish to me, and also.
Well, that'd be a Pearl River plunge then. So they really messed up.
Shingo lost back in May in a tag team match and acted like he was like Goldberg and like this unstoppable monster, but he's lost a bunch of times this year.
He did some jobs in tag matches, but he never took the fall. There's a big difference there. It's like when Charlotte never lost on pay-per-view, but lost every week on Raw. Yeah, I got a lot of emails about this, so I may as well just address it now because it's like the second most emailed thing that I've got after the Goldberg thing, but Naito apparently almost broke Kota Ibushi's neck on the Dominion show earlier today. I love both guys, but what they're doing is just stupid and will take years off their careers and lives. And by the way, like, I don't want to be over dramatic here, but that guy's not wrong. It will take years off their lives. I can practically guarantee it. Naito versus Ibushi frightened me far more than Goldberg versus Undertaker. I truly feared for their safety in the Dominion match. I've not seen the match. I'm not going to lie. I haven't seen it yet. But if you think I haven't seen the German suplex that Naito gave Ibushi on the apron, where only Ibushi's head hit the apron and the rest of his body kept going and his neck cracked sideways and I have absolutely no idea how he doesn't have a broken neck, well, it really, honest to God, makes me not want to watch the match. I realize it's my job. I've ranted about their matches before. I don't ever. Listen to me, everybody, because I know there are the WWE weirdos that are listening to this right now, and Bryan never complains about New Japan. I do not ever want to see Kota Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito have a match again. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't ever want to see it again. If I live to be 150 years old, I don't ever want them to be in the ring with each other again. Because they can't do a match without killing each other. I mean, they probably can. But their mindset is they have a match that they want to do, and their bodies be damned, they're going to do it. And I can tell you that Naito's body is thrashed. And there have been Japanese pro wrestlers, Misawa is one, whose neck was thrashed, and he took one high-angle suplex and died in the middle of the ring. Internal decapitation. There have been guys in this business whose necks aren't as bad as Naito's, who have also died in the ring. I mean, this is not like, joking around, he's going to be Dynamite Kid, he's going to be in a wheelchair. Like, someone's going to die in the middle of the ring in one of these matches. Like, I don't want to be grim here, but it's almost inevitable that, like, Naito's going to die in the ring. I could be wrong. I pray that I'm wrong. But I watch these matches, I watch these animated GIFs, I watch what these guys do, and Naito is going to die in the ring. And I hate to say it, but it's just got to stop. And the only way to get it to stop is to stop putting them in matches together. Because if you put them in a match together, they're going to do this stuff. And they're gonna shorten their lives. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. This person says, any news on whether Kota Ibushi got a concussion from being dropped on the ring apron this morning? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I mean, my bigger issue is his neck. I want to talk about Ibushi Naito, this person said. I thought it was horrifying. They're trying to kill each other to begin with, and then they botch some stuff on top of that. It hurts the match for me when Naito almost kills him 10 times for near falls, but unless it's a standing destino, there's zero drama. Or standing destino. Did I agree with everything you say? Back in a moment with more Observer Live. Thank God we got that Ryan call out of the way. I can't take it today. This person here says, so Naito and Ibushi killed themselves again on Dominion. Why in God's name would they not stop doing this dangerous stuff to their necks? They had a really good match, but that apron spot really upset me. I've had people say the apron spot was like a botch, and hey, listen, maybe it was, okay? But if you were taking a German suplex on the apron, and you're standing on the apron, and the guy's grabbing you and he's going to give you a German on the apron, why would you turn your head and look backwards? You don't do that on any German suplex. So there's two options, okay? One of them is that the German suplex was actually supposed to be Ibushi flipping over and landing on his stomach on the ground and not even touching the apron. That's why he looked behind him. Or they did that spot on purpose. And he was not... There was nothing in that spot that looked to me like Naito was herking him up in the air so that he could flip all the way over. I think they did that spot on purpose. I don't know. I'll have to watch it again. But the few times that I watched it, it sure as hell looked to me like that was planned. And if that's planned, I mean, they're determined to kill each other. I don't know why. I just don't get it. Mike, what'd you think of this show? What'd you see of it?
It was a great show. I watched it live. If anybody wants to feel it in real time, see a bunch of GIFs and videos and whatnot, go to my Twitter, @Sempervive. Because the show was great. But there was that little overhanging thing of men trying to kill themselves. And let's not limit this to Naito and Ibushi, who, again, like you said, did it look like they did it on purpose? You bet they did. You bet. I don't know if it was supposed to be a the German onto the apron and he missed. I don't know if that was their bright idea to have him jack up his neck and have him smash his head, but it is complete maniacal lunacy. And that's what Naito looked like when he was about to deliver the thing. He looked like an insane person, and Ibushi is insane for taking it. The doctors are insane for letting the thing go on when Ibushi was clearly hurt afterwards. I don't care what anybody says. It was just insanity, but don't spare Dragon Lee in this. And there are a couple of things. If you go to my Twitter and look at them, go to anybody's, TDE's, anybody that makes Lariato, anybody that makes GIFs, and go take a look at what Dragon Lee and Ospreay did. And forget about Ospreay now. Ospreay does still do some things that are a little bit questionable, but he has done a complete 180, whereas guys like Dragon Lee and the Caveman and dudes like that, I mean, Hiromu Takahashi is coming back. He got exceptionally lucky. there are other guys who aren't going to be so lucky and may not be so lucky in the future, like you talked about in the first segment with Misawa, with who am I forgetting from Perros Del Mal? Why am I brain locking on him, for heaven's sakes?
Talking about Paraguayo?
Paraguayo, again, because it would just situations where your body just gives out. You don't know when it's going to happen, and I have the same fear you do when it comes to Tetsuya Naito, that we're going to see a guy who is banged up. Like, people don't realize how banged up that dude is, and internally how jacked up he is for his age. It is completely ridiculous, and he is going out there and doing this stuff. It's complete insanity, and I don't want to see anything more tragic happen, and I'm with you. If I never see this match again, and frankly, I'm done with the feud anyway, but if I never see it again, I'll be completely fine with it.
All right, let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing today?
What's happening?
What's up, John?
What's up, Mike? Before I start, of course, Brian, I haven't talked to you in a couple of hours, in a couple of weeks because of a couple of weeks since because of my job, and you've been traveling around getting your butt whooped by the.
Would you shut up? What's the point today? We got 1,000 callers on the line.
My point is this: 10 years ago, and I thought about this while y'all was talking about this. 10 years ago, I remember watching the Misawa incident where he just literally decapitated his head.
Internal decapitation in the middle of the ring. Dead.
And I'm looking at this, and I thought, I saw a pretty good show to this morning, which instead I saw a show Friday. I was going to talk about that god-awful show Friday, which was just terrible that I did not ever want to see again. But today I saw two matches that I swear, 4 men that I thought they was trying to kill each other. They literally was trying to kill each other. I learned to let go of Will Ospreay. At least Will Ospreay has at least tried to not do crazy, 100% crazy things all the time. Sometimes I'm okay with, but he has learned to calm it down. Dragon Lee, you're right, Mike. That man, I'm afraid of him. That 10 years from that. Hey, 5 years from now, he's going to be like David Boy Smith. David Boy Smith, the Dynamite Kid, and just become a walking zombie in a wheelchair, and just all of a sudden, 10, 15 years later, they died because of the ring. That Naito and Ibushi match, I swear, what is the point of them trying to kill themselves? And I'm not being funny when I say this. They literally trying to kill themselves. This is like the second or third time that each and every single one of them have tried.
Second or third? What are you talking about? Like the dozenth?
Well, that I have seen. I'm talking about that we've seen that I have seen, Brian. That I have personally seen in less than 2 years. In less than 2 years, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Hey, let me tell you something, John. Then Mike's going to say something here. Listen, everybody. I went to 2018 King of Indies. You guys remember that show? Do you know who won? Dragon Lee won, okay? So, after the show, we all went to, I believe it was Denny's, and Dave and I are sitting there, and some guys walk in, and some Mexicans walk in. And I glanced over there, and I was like, that's Dragon Lee. Never seen him before with his mask off. But I looked over there, and I was like, that's Dragon Lee. Dave's like, how do you know that? I said, I know that walk. That dude's hurting everywhere. Okay, how old is Dragon Lee?
Oh, 25, 24?
Let's find out how old this guy is, okay?
He's very, very young.
Dragon Lee's 24, okay? Just turned 24, by the way. He was 23, so he was 22, 23 years old when I saw him. And I knew from his walk that this dude was messed up, 22 years old. Do you think that he fell on his head one time during King of the Indies? No. Like, I don't remember watching that and going, dude, that guy fell on his head. Do you think that he did one dive and land on his head? I mean, he did dives, but like, do you think he did anything at the King of the Indies reminiscent of what he did at that show on Saturday night, last night? No, he didn't. He's a wreck, okay? Like, obviously he just got done wrestling 3 matches, so I'm sure he was all banged up, but I took one look at that guy and I knew this dude's a wreck. Okay, how old is Naito?
Oh, God, pushing 40, to be honest.
He's a hell of a lot older than that, okay? He is 36 years old. Actually,
there you go.
He's 36 years old. He looks older than that. You guys take a look at Naito's body. You ever taken a look at Naito's, his shoulders and his arms over the last year or so? I mean, what do you notice? I'll tell you what you notice. You notice his body's gone all to hell, okay? Why does a guy who's 36 years old have his body go all to hell? Because his neck is so messed up that he probably can barely do anything in the gym anymore. At 36 years old, okay? That's a thrash neck, okay? Now, on top of that, Ibushi's already had neck surgery. So there's another guy, and Ibushi, I think, is 36 years old as well. He's already had one neck surgery, and he got dropped on the side of his neck on this show here. I mean, this is no joke, everybody. This is absolutely no joke. This is somebody's going to die in the ring, and I'm not exaggerating here. I'm not trying to be overdramatic. I've seen it happen. Someone's going to die in the ring if these guys keep landing on their head.
Look, I don't like the calculated risks anywhere of these ladder matches. We're begging for a compound fracture in one of those, and I don't mean to be an old man out here screaming behind you saying the same thing, but I agree. And this is where New Japan needs to step in. This is, Ibushi's going to say it's his art. Naito's going to say it's what he does, and they're right. That's what you do. You got to figure out a way to rein him in. You got to figure out a way to even find him if you need to. They don't need to be doing these things. These guys have 5-star matches in their sleep with each other without putting on these type of risks. Look at Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is 30 years old. He looks like he's going on 50 sometimes. And yeah, can he actually hold up the clock here a little bit? Yes, but we don't know what kind of damage he's done to himself. Christ, look at all the damage he has done to himself that he's admitted to, let alone the stuff we don't know about and how banged up his body's been in the last 10 years of being a professional wrestler. And what is really frustrating in a way about this is we're talking about this stuff where you had a show that was perfectly paced in a lot of ways. It opened up with Moxley and Shota Umino, which was a great 4-minute match with a story being told with Moxley helping Umino, throwing him outside the ring and carrying him to the back. Then you had Shingo, and he announces for the G1, by the way. Then you have Shingo win a heavyweight match against Satoshi Kojima that everybody kind of knew he was going to win, and then he announces for the G1. Then you had this Liger. All of these things were being built up so nicely. Ishii pulling something out of Taichi by the end of the match. The tag title, even though we've seen it a million times, that was good. Ospreay and Lee, sure, too many risks. And then you get to the last two matches, and Okada and Jericho, you may not like the way it went because of the story that they're telling and the directions that they're going, but forget about that. And that's what we have. We've forgotten about that and the whole rest of the card because all we're doing is talking about Naito, Ibushi, and their necks again, and it's kind of ridiculous, and that's too bad because we got Kenta in the G1, we got all this good stuff happening, and this is what we end up talking about.
Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So, how was the Jericho-Okada main event? I got a text here from somebody who didn't like it.
Yeah, well, they kind of sacrificed Okada to get you to Jericho and Tanahashi. So they sacrificed the IWGP Heavyweight Champion for a night so they could get to the Legacy feud. And the match itself was fine. It was okay. It was Jericho brawling around, being what Jericho is now, and Okada is great. They did a DDT spot early in the match on top of a table where it was pretty obvious that Okada's head never even came close to hitting, so that was great. Although they did do some wild stuff, including Okada jumping over the guardrail and Jericho actually landing a code breaker on him. In where the seats were, which was really wild. But, for a lot of people, they just are tired of Jericho. And I think for a lot of longtime New Japan fans, and I think for a lot of fans inside Japan, they are kind of not all about this Jericho thing, but it does certainly serve a purpose for people in North America. And Jericho's very good at what he does, and I have a feeling that even there are a lot of bad feelings maybe, or there are some bad feelings, but I have a feeling once Okada's next title challenger is announced, and Jericho and Tanahashi are basically kind of sectioned off, and they're in their own little world together, I think everybody's going to get over that. And, it was Jericho getting the better of Okada at the end, beating him up with a chair, hitting the Judas effect, he Pillmanized his neck into the post. So Okada was getting slaughtered, and people, there was some, there was a little bit of real heat there. There were, it wasn't I don't think as widespread as they would have liked it to be. I think there were a lot of people sitting on their hands, which didn't come across as good. And I think a lot of people who watched that have latched onto that. But I have a feeling that once Tanahashi and Jericho take off and Okada's, set up with whoever he's going to be with, that people are pretty much going to forget about this. And I know people are upset a little bit too about the cradle for the pin, which, it wasn't the Rainmaker or anything like that, but you still wanted to protect Jericho and have him move on to something else. And you had Okada win a match out of nowhere, which every once in a while is okay. You can win a match out of nowhere, without your move in Japan, and actually that could mean something for later on down the line. So I'm okay with that.
Well, we just got another one right here that said that they thought that Jericho-Okada was the best match on the show. It was wild, told a great story, and nobody almost died.
It's true.
That is true. That's the point of pro wrestling. That is, in fact, the point of pro wrestling.
I would like to know if Milano Collection AT was okay after taking the Dragon Lee's feet to the chest. Did you see Lee's dive through the ropes?
I did.
Heavens.
I mean, even that, it's like, he probably didn't intend to go that crazy, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure, but still.
But like Naito and Ibushi purposely drop themselves on their heads. It's like a badge of honor for them. They do it all the time. It's a difference. Like, accidents happen in pro wrestling all the time. Happened to me in that Marco Stun match, for crying out loud. I'm still recovering.
I just want to shoehorn this in here, too, about I know there's a very small minority of people out there that are diehard Noah fans that are upset with Kenta for not going back and trying to save the new promotion, but hey, look, Kenta's Noah is gone, and a lot of ways it passed away with Misawa, just to link it together with that years back. Him in New Japan makes complete and utter sense. Him being presented by Shibata was an incredible, wonderful type of moment, and their pose inside the ring was great, and I don't know what he has left, but I do know the depth that's being added to the G1 and the skill that's being added to the G1 with Shingo, with Kenta, with Ospreay, with Moxley. Like, we're not going to see, I don't think, we're still going to see guys lose their minds like Ishii. We're going to see probably too much, but we're also going to see a level of worker that hopefully will kind of rein some of those guys in, because I can't see any of the guys I just named, including Ospreay at this point, being what they were and doing what Ibushi and Naito did last night.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hi, this is Christopher from Connecticut.
Yeah.
And I have my thoughts on the whole Ibushi thing, but first, I do want to say, even though you did not accept the bet I texted in on Friday, I would like to get, and I told you so in, on the Taichi having a better match than Okada.
Whoa,
and then,
easy, champ.
Is that true, Mike? Or
that is not. Look, that match picked up at the end, but it was very much a Taichi match, and yes, Ishii can get the best out of him, but I don't know if I'd be so bold to put it over Jericho and Okada.
The one thing that might redeem the Jericho thing was him calling Tanahashi Bakahashi. That was great.
That was.
So, and for the Ibushi thing, I don't know if I really hope Taichi is in G1 this year. For the Ibushi thing, so like I was born in the same month as Daniel Benoit, so like I never grew up watching Chris Benoit, but I've gone back and watched his stuff, and like watching Ibushi matches now, like watching those like neck spots and stuff like that, I get like the feeling that those are going to be back on like it's looking back on some of those crazy Chris Benoit spots where he's like doing like crazy ladder spots onto his head and stuff like that, where something terrible is going to happen and people are going to look back and see all of this crazy stuff they're doing.
Well,
that's just, yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for the call. Hate to be depressing on the show today, but if people would stop landing on their damn necks, I mean, we wouldn't have to do this. But it's not going to happen unless people stop putting them in the ring together. That's the answer to this. I mean, it's not even the real answer, because like Naito can land on his head from somebody else.
And has.
And will do it again till he can't anymore. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on? Hey, what's up? Turn your device off. What's going on?
Yes, yeah. Hey, it's Eric from Norway again.
Yes, Eric.
Am I here?
I hope so.
My phone's bad. Yes, I hope I do. Okay, I wanted to ask because, as you probably have gotten from this point, I'm a pretty clueless person. So I've only watched wrestling for almost 9 years at this point. But I do not understand the whole landing on your neck thing. I do not get it. Because at this point we know.
Dude, I'm 43. I've been watching this for 30-something years. I don't get landing on your neck.
Yes, but okay, I got it in the past when people didn't, quote-unquote, know what concussions did to people and stuff. And
but they did know.
They weren't as educated.
They always knew.
Yeah, they did
They
know,
pretended like they didn't know.
They always do, but they pretended like they didn't. But now, it's I mean, people, we've seen the consequences of this. So I do not get it. I'm not an artist. The closest I get to artists spouting my inane opinion on podcasts, but I don't get why they're doing this to themselves. It boggles me.
They think it makes for a great match.
I watch that.
It's their art.
They have a passion for this. It gets a big.
Kobashi.
They're going to be in a wheelchair.
It gets a big reaction from the crowd. They don't think about tomorrow. They think about today. That's what this is.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Harley Race is in a wheelchair, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm just pointing that out. And he wrestled significantly safer.
Well, he did a lot of diving headbutts, which he has blamed on putting him in a wheelchair.
Yeah, true.
But he never landed on his head doing the headbutts, I might add.
Yes. But diving headbutts are horrible. But I'm just pointing out, Harley Race, overall, did not land on his neck as much as these.
Dude, homeboy, go into the Cauliflower Alley Club from Norway. I want you to fly to Las Vegas next year. Go to the Cauliflower Alley Club banquet and check out all of the wrestlers that are there. And the guys in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and there ain't a lot in their 80s, they can barely move.
Shout out
and
to Jacobs.
They've got dementia, and they didn't do anything resembling any of this. Not even resembling any of this. This generation is going to be an absolute... Here's the thing with Ospreay, okay? So, I got a toe and a wrist that at this point, I'm pretty sure they're never going to heal, okay? And I didn't do any of this crap. None of it. Nothing. I'm 43 years old, and these two things are never going to heal. And Will Ospreay, yes, I realize that he's out there and he's working a lot safer. But this dude has miles on his body where it doesn't matter how safe he works from now on. He could work in a swimming pool for the rest of his life. He's still going to be a wreck. These guys are going to be absolute wrecks. It's a lot of thinking about today and not thinking about tomorrow. Oh, I'm in the Dome. Oh, I'm at Corkin Hall. I've dreamed about this since I was a tape trader. I'm going to do this crazy thing, that crazy thing. Oh, I want my picture in the magazines. I want this picture of my neck on the apron in the magazines. Living for today and not tomorrow. And it's going to be sad. And they're going to regret it at the end. They will. It's sad. It depresses me.
I agree. And what's the caveman's excuse on the random TV show that he decides to land the dive to the outside? And again, I don't want to be that old man that yells at everything, but it is so cringeworthy, and I already lived through watching Misawa and Kawada and those guys do those angle drops on their heads and that sort of stuff, and I saw where Misawa ended up, and it sucked. And I saw Perro Aguayo just collapse in the ring, and it just, and
for those of you who don't remember Perro Aguayo, Rey Mysterio was going to do a 619, and Rey Mysterio did a drop toe hold, and Perro Aguayo fell onto the ropes like 90,000 other people have done in their careers, and he had his armpits on the ropes. He didn't even really hit his neck, but he fell in that position and died. Boom. Like that. That's what happens.
And it's unnecessary. No, Naito is one of the best wrestlers. He's a Hall of Fame wrestler. Ibushi is probably a Hall of Fame wrestler. They've wrestled each other a zillion times. They've wrestled other people a zillion times. They don't need to do this stuff. And again, when you leave it up to the athlete's going to do everything they can to get the most out of their performance. Whatever they think that is, they're going to do it. Whatever they have to take to do it, they're going to do it. That's why there's these rules that are in place. And somebody has got to rein these guys in. They do have a lot of talent in New Japan. They are very deep. You still don't need people dropping out like this. For heaven's sakes, you got lucky with Hanma. You got lucky with Hiromu Takahashi. Why keep inviting this? Wrestling is dangerous enough as it is. We don't need angled back suplexes or German suplexes off the ring. It's just stupid.
Bergier says, on a totally unrelated note, after that horrible match with Charlotte, are they gifting another Raw women's title match to Lacey Evans? Yes, they are. Yeah, it's Stomping Grounds in Tacoma, like 30, 40 minutes from my house. I get to go and I get to watch Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin for the WWE title, and another Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans match, which, I mean, I know they forget everything all the time, but, like, you forgot that they already did that match and it sucked, and we're going to do it again? Like, they literally are building up that match like it's never happened before. I saw it with my own two eyes a month ago, and it was no good, but they're doing it again.
You think they still make Lugs boots? Maybe they can bring them back for a sponsor. Did you see the logo for Stomping Grounds?
I have not seen it yet.
It's a big old boot, and yeah, this is a bad name for a pay-per-view, but what can you do?
So, also had a few texts about Mansoor. This person here says, why are the same people who cry about Vince not pushing new people upset about Mansoor winning the Battle Royal? Okay, who's upset about Mansoor winning the Battle Royal?
Yeah, really.
The Battle Royal sucked. It was one of the worst Battle Royals I ever saw. But I have no problem with Mansoor winning in his hometown and the people going crazy. That was totally fine. Now, the issue with him pushing new guys is he ain't going to push Mansoor. That's another issue entirely. Back in a moment. Observer Live. Well, this is not a serious question, but I'm going to make it a serious question. Says, so with Shane winning against WWE's best booked in Roman Reigns, does he now represent WWE and go to challenge Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship? Dude, let me tell you something. That's one match I want to see Shane McMahon in. I would love to see Shane McMahon versus Okada, because I bet Okada could actually get a 4-star match out of Shane McMahon in 2019. I firmly, absolutely believe that.
Do you remember when he basically powerbombed himself for Tenryu?
I do recall this. I think Okada could get 4 stars or better out of Shane McMahon. And this is a Shane McMahon years removed from that AJ Styles match at Mania that Dave gave 4 stars to, which, by the way, I did not give 4 stars to. But yeah, I think it could be done.
I want to see
Now, the problem with this theory is that I have been told that of all of the New Japan main event stars, the only one not thrashed physically is Okada. And unfortunately, if you put him in a match with Shane McMahon, he would not come out unscathed.
Well, that's why I'd like to see Shane and Jericho. Just give me purple Shane and Jericho with the makeup on and the looking 40, whatever it is. He looks good for believe me, but still, with the makeup and looking extra crazy. Just have those two go crazy and brawl throughout the arena and leave that hullabaloo for them, and give me Okada and somebody else.
48 years old, Chris Jericho.
It's amazing.
All right, we're out of time, everybody. I want to thank you all for listening. We're done for the day. I'll be back later on tonight with Vinny and Dave. 2 shows tonight. It is a 3-show day for me here on a Sunday. Back on Monday with Mike and more. I want to thank everybody in the studio, callers and listeners. Talk to you again next time. Wrestling Observer Live.